When critical thinking isn't enough, to beat information overload, we need to learn critical ignoring. Ralph Hertwig, Director, Center for Adaptive Rationale, Max Planck Institute; Anastasia Korzyreva, Cognitive Scientist, Max Planck Institute; Sam Weinberg, Professor, Education History, Stanford University; Stephen Landinowski, Chair of Cognitive Psychology, University of Bristol. The web is an informational paradise and a hellscape at the same time. A boundless wealth of high-quality information is available at our fingertips, right next to a ceaseless torrent of low-quality, distracting, false, and manipulative information. The platforms that control search were conceived in sin. Their business model auctions off our most precious and limited cognitive resources, attention. These platforms work overtime to hijack our attention by purveying information that arouses curiosity, anger, or outrage. The more our eyeballs remain glued to the screen, the more ads they can show us, and the greater profits accrue to their shareholders. It's hardly surprising, therefore, all this should take a toll on our collective attention. A 2019 analysis of Twitter hashtags, Google queries, or Reddit comments found that across the past decade, the rate at which the popularity of items rises and drops has accelerated. In 2013, for example, a hashtag on Twitter was popular on average for 17.5 hours, while in 2016 whose popularity faded after 11.9 hours. More competition leads to shorter collective attention intervals, which lead to ever fiercer competition for our attention, a vicious cycle. To regain control, we need cognitive strategies that help us reclaim at least some autonomy and shield us from the excesses, traps, and information disorders of today's attention economy. Critical thinking is not enough. The textbook cognitive strategy is critical thinking, an intellectually disciplined, self-guided, and effortful process to help identify valid information. In school, students are taught to carefully read and evaluate information. Thus equipped, they can evaluate the claims and arguments they see, hear, or read. No objection. The ability to think critically is immensely important. But is it enough in a world of information overabundance and gushing sources of disinformation? The answer is no, for at least two reasons. First, the digital world contains more information than the world's libraries combined. Much of it comes from unvetted sources and lacks reliable indicators of trustworthiness. Critically thinking through all information and sources we come across would utterly paralyze us, because we would never have time to actually read the valuable information we painstakingly identify. Second, investing critical thinking in sources that should have been ignored in the first place means that attention merchants and malicious actors have been gifted what they wanted, our attention. Critically ignoring to make information management feasible. So what tools do we have at our disposal beyond critical thinking? In our recent article, we, a philosopher, two cognitive scientists, and an education scientist argued that as much as we need critical thinking, we also need critical ignoring. Critical ignoring is the ability to choose what to ignore and where to invest one's limited attentional capacities. Critical ignoring is more than just not paying attention. It's about practicing mindful and healthy habits in the face of information overabundance. We understand it as a core competence for all citizens in the digital world, and without it, we will drown in a sea of information that is at best distracting and at worst misleading and harmful. Tools for critical ignoring. Three main strategies exist for critical ignoring. Each one responds to a different type of noxious information. In the digital world, self-nudging aims to empower people to be citizen choice architects by designing their informational environments in ways that work best for them and that constrain their activities in beneficial ways. We can, for instance, remove distracting and irresistible notifications. We may set specific times in which messages can be received, thereby creating pockets of time for concentrated work or socializing. Self-nudging can also help us take control of our digital default settings, for instance, by restricting the use of our personal data for purposes of targeted advertisement. Lateral reading is a strategy that enables people to emulate how professional fact-checkers establish the credibility of online information. It involves opening up new browser tabs to search for information about the organization or individual behind a site before diving into its contents. Only after consulting the open web do skilled searchers gauge whether expending attention is worth it. Before critical thinking can begin, the first step is to ignore the lure of the site and check out what others say about its alleged factual reports. Lateral reading thus uses the power of the web to check the web. Most students fail at that task. Past studies show that when deciding whether a source should be trusted, students as well as university professors do what years of school has taught them to do. They read closely and carefully. Attention merchants as well as merchants of doubt are jubilant. Online, looks can be deceiving. Unless one has extensive background knowledge, it's often very difficult to figure out that a site filled with the trappings of serious research peddles falsehoods about climate change or vaccinations or any variety of historical topics such as the Holocaust. Instead of getting entangled in the site's reports and professional design, fact-checkers exercise critical ignoring. They evaluate the site by leaving it and engage in lateral reading instead. They do not feed the trolls heuristic targets, online trolls and their malicious users who harass, cyberbully, or use other antisocial tactics. Trolls thrive on attention and deliberate spreading of dangerous disinformation, often resort to trolling tactics. One of the main strategies that science denialists use is to hijack people's attention by creating the appearance of a debate where none exists. The heuristic advises against directly responding to trolling. Resist debating or retaliating. Of course, this strategy of critically ignoring is only a first line of defense. It should be complemented by blocking and reporting trolls and by transparent platform content, moderation policies including debunking. These three categories are not a set of elite skills. Everybody can make use of them, but educational efforts are critical and crucial for bringing these tools to the public. Critical ignoring as a new paradigm for education. The philosopher Michael Lynch has noted that the internet is both the world's best fact checker and the world's best bias confirmer, often at the same time. Navigating it successfully requires new competencies that should be taught in school. Without the competence to choose what to ignore and where to invest one's limited attention, we allow others to seize control of our eyes and minds. Appreciation for the importance of critically ignoring is not new, but has become even more crucial in the digital world. As the philosopher and psychologist William James astutely observed at the beginning of the 20th century, the art of being wise is the art of knowing what to ignore. And this is on The Conversation. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.